All righty, welcome to episode number 15 of Bet Parks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Jason Myrtetus. We have an awesome episode today because we've got a man that's going to be inducted into hockey royalty. I don't think he can believe it still. I think he still thinks that this is some kind of practical joke, and he's played a fucking 1,000 practical jokes on people, including yours truly. But it's not a joke. It's real. Al Morganti will be our guest in just a moment. Let me tell you about Bet Parks first, though, because Bet Parks is a great opportunity for you to get in on all the action, whether it's hockey, whether it's hoops, college or pro, football, college or pro, Formula One, whatever you want to bet on. Use the Bet Parks app. Download it. Navigate it. It's easy. Faster to win than ever before. Easy deposit, fast payouts, you name it. It's all there. New and existing users can use the promo code JASON750. That'll get you a risk-free bet up to $750. Terms and conditions do apply. So make sure you download that Bet Parks app. Do it today. You need to be over 21, present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, the people from Conquerville Subaru, great work that they do in the community. Matter of fact, I got a DM from a guy the other day telling me, hey, I love the podcast, blah, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what, it was Jared, my buddy Jared on Twitter. He DMs me quite a bit. He says, this is near and dear to me, but Conquerville really is awesome. They do so much good in the community. And I know firsthand because my wife is their contact at Namor's. She works in the fundraising department, and Conquerville is her client, and they are fantastic. And I totally agree. That's why they were the Subaru Nation Love Promise Dealer of the Year winner back in 2015, the inaugural, by the way. 8 years supporting. I was calling it Nemours. It's Namor's. Children's Hospital of Delaware. Adopted 15 classrooms at the Marcus Hook Elementary School again this year, giving teachers $500 at classroom supplies each that they pick, plus the donation of thousands of coats in La Humanidad, Hispania, and Kent Square. They've done that for 10 years. That continues to this day. It's a great dealership, a great, beautiful showroom. Check out their certified pre-owned inventory on Route 202 in Glen Mills, a list of incoming Subaru vehicles. And it's more than a dealership. Great service department, free car wash with every visit. So visit ConquervilleSubaru.com online and check out the showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember, Conquerville cares. You will not regret it. Let's bring him on right now. He is the Elmer Ferguson Memorial Award winner for the Hockey Hall of Fame coming up on Monday. You've seen him on the radio. Well, you haven't seen him on the radio. You've heard him on the radio. You've seen him on NBC Sports Philadelphia and the Imaginations over the years, on ESPN back in the day. He is one of the really good guys in an industry full of some good guys. It is Al Morganti. Albert, how are you?
I'm doing just great. Flyers doing good. I'm going up to TO. What could be better?
Yeah, you're going up to Toronto, so you're heading up on Friday?
Yeah, Friday morning flight to go up. I don't like that airport. I like the whole country, but I don't care for that airport.
Yeah. So, I got a little bit of garbled sound with your microphone now all of a sudden.
Right.
Can you? Is there like a loose wire there or something? Maybe
it's not just an iPad, so there is no.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's garbled now. I'll tell you what. I'm going to kick you out and then just log right back in. Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna kick out because I want people to be able to hear Al's audio good and clear because there's a ton to talk about. I had good audio right before we went live, but of course, as soon as we go live, the audio goes to shit because that's technology and that's like the perils of live programming. As I have a sip of the blue raspberry flavored BioSteel. BioSteel should be a sponsor on this podcast. We got to get BioSteel as a sponsor. All right, we got him back now. Albert, let me hear you.
Is that any better?
That is much better. Good.
All right.
So you're going to Toronto. What's kind of on the docket for this weekend? What's Al Morganti got planned, or what does the Hockey Hall of Fame have planned for Al Morganti?
Well, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Of course, the players of the show, the Sedin twins. It's a big Vancouver Swedish thing. Alfie's going in Alfredson, and Roberto Luongo, who really I think will end up being the show. There's like a kind of a Legends type of a game. I think Eric Lindgren is going to coach one team. And there's just, family stuff going on. A lot of people coming up from Massachusetts coming up. I think I've invited Davey Poulin's going to be there. Keith Jones going to be there. Brian Engblom. And, of course, Billy Clement's going in as a broadcaster. So I sort of feel bad for Billy having to go in with me. So
yeah. It's crazy.
We've been involved for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, you've worked with Billy so many years.
Yeah.
Al, let me take you back because I've always felt, as a radio guy, there's two me's. There's the me off the air, then there's the me on the radio. And I've always felt that there's twoAls. There's the Al that people hear on the show with Angelo and have heard for many years, and then there's Hockey Al. But I've always felt like Hockey Al was more the authentic, the real deal Al Morganti. When did this game get its hooks into you?
Well, I think like most kids growing up, I played on. Actually, it was cold enough. We actually played outdoors in Boston. I was lucky enough to grow up during the Bobby Orr era. So, unlike kids today who want to wear Austin Matthews number or whatever, we wouldn't dare wear number 4. You'd be laughed right off of the lake if you dared to show up with a number 4 to come in like that. And then I kind of played around house leagues, this league, that league, and there were like a million leagues in New England at the time. The Bruins kicked off what the Flyers did here, and I was lucky enough covering high school hockey to become friendly and cover people like Michael Ruzioni, Dave Silk, Jackie O'Callahan, Ruzioni, guys I've known through my lifetime, basically.
Yeah.
And kind of grew up with them. Went to Babson, then a couple other places, then went to Boston University and covered that team with coach Jackie Parker, who was really a big help because Jackie treated the student reporters like professionals, and it really gave an insight into how a team's run, how it's covered. And then then the U.S. Olympic team, and I just got lucky. A lot of my friends played hockey, coached hockey, covered hockey, and it's always been a part of my life. It's from the time, when you're, for me, it was like 12, 13 years old, you got a pair of tacks for Christmas. When supposedly your feet stop growing. So
that's when you get the super tax. Yeah.
You get the tax. So you get that. And you just play, I don't think enough is made of like just playing in any league you can, not even like right now there's elite leagues and everything. But I found that the house leagues lead to just a huge fan base of people that really get involved with the game and coaches and everything like that. I think that's a real base that I'm worried about because of the cost of hockey to keep things going. So that's how I got involved. And I got to say, it's served me well throughout my life, not just professionally, but almost all of my good friends are involved with the sport. I mean, literally everybody I know is involved in some way with the sport, and I've made lifelong friends through it.
Yeah, that's the thing that's amazing, Al. I find the same thing. The people that I'm closest with are connected to the game, and I don't know. I think it's because it's like we were raised in the same value system of the way the sport, the things it teaches you. The sport's not perfect, but the things that like my son plays, and I see him getting out of the game the things that I got out of, from squirt through midget, and I see those things, and like, as much as I love the actual game, it's the things that it brought me in other ways that I think are even more valuable.
Yeah, it was like, I think a big part of it is your parents or your mom or your dad or both or whomever, grandparents, whomever. You need a ride to the game. You actually talk during that time. It may not be with the buds in or whatever. They actually have some conversation. I know that's a big part of it. The parents have to be so involved. And I've actually, coached kids where I've seen, there's so many, divorce is so common, but you see both parents there and watching the game. And the other part that's pretty cool is, even as a little kid, if you go, you've got kids. I had a daughter that played through college, but even as a parent, if you watch them play baseball, it's like, oh God, this is going to go on forever. You watch them say soccer, and it's like you don't even know what's going on. But even from the very littlest level, it's a blast to watch them play hockey.
Yeah.
It's just you go to a Flyers game and they have mics on, people are going crazy. It's just, it really is fun to watch. And I think that bond stays forever. And I'm just so happy that I could have spent an entire life in and around the game, even if it's marginally, peripherally, whatever. I've always felt part of that whole hockey community.
You're connected to it. It's amazing. What was Al Morganti, the player, like? Because you're a laid back guy, Al.
Yeah,
but,
no, I was.
But when the helmet goes on, people change.
Yeah, there were incidents, but not. I mean, I wasn't tough or anything. And I think my scouting report was small but slow. So there wasn't much hope that I was gonna go anywhere. But I mean, I had a bit of a temper that got tamed. But I realized real early at BU when I tried to walk on at BU, and at that point, BU was mostly Canadian, save O'Callahan and those guys I mentioned there. And to try to walk on to BU was nuts. And I realized right then and there, like, no, it's not happening. Go work for the newspaper. And Jack Parker was pretty good, like, go do that. But, you know, we had at that school like intramural teams, like because it was in Boston, that were amazing. Literally, like they would have beaten so many, like because local kids that came up. I mean, that was such a high level of play at the colleges at that point. And I loved covering college hockey. I loved it. I covered the East, and I get to really, really know Herb Brooks really well. I was one of the few guys from the East that he trusted, which is why
he was coaching in Minnesota.
Yeah, he was at Minnesota, and he, you know, people to this day, the biggest miracle to me, as much as the U.S. beating the Soviets at the time, was the fact that Herb could get those guys from Boston to play with those kids from Minnesota. Because all we thought of the kids from Minnesota was they were these big blonde kids with big teeth, nothing else. And he got them all to play, and it was amazing to see that happen. And then he became a really good friend through a long period of time.
Wow, that's a great story. You're right though, like the difference between it's like East Coast versus West Coast in the rap world. You know what I mean?
You know, the kids would say, "Well, you got your breezers on." I'm like, "What the hell are breezers? I've never heard hockey pants called breezers. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
They come in, they got this whole different lingo going on, and of course they got the salad on. You know, all the kids from Minnesota had the great flow even back then, and it was just. The kids from where I'm from are like little runts running about, taking their skates out. So it was a good mix.
Oh, that's awesome. So you get involved early on in covering the game at BU, and you end up here in Philadelphia. You end up on ESPN. Was that the big break for you, ESPN, and you know that whole thing kind of taking off?
It was covering high school hockey in Boston. It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And then I left to go to cover the Miami Dolphins, which I didn't like. And I was only there a few months, and somebody from Atlanta called if I was interested in covering, believe it or not, I'm old enough, the Flames. And that's Bill Clement was on that team. And I was in Atlanta literally only a couple of months when somebody called from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Gene Roberts, the editor. And I had to have this meeting with him. And, you know, he's big, like the Phillies were huge. So I remember my interview with him. He said, well, you know, basically how, you know, why should I hire you? The question is, I said, well, here's the deal. You know, when you see Richie Hebner, who was playing for the Phillies, you see a baseball player. When I see Richie Hebner, it's a kid I watched in high school on the ice, a great hockey player. That's how I know Richie Hebner. I don't know anything about his baseball. And it's like, and we just went from there. And that was my break there in Philly with the Inquirer. Then I went to the National Sports Daily, worked for the Hockey News. There was a guy named Vince Doria that was my editor in Boston that kind of brought me along. And then Vince went to ESPN. And when ESPN got the contract, Vince was an editor there or whatever. And he called and said, do you want to be involved in the national hockey coverage? I said, yeah, no worries. I can do that. I've never been on TV in my life. And so Bill Clement's going to be on TV. So I'm with Billy, and he goes, you know, you got a sport coat, you know, going up for an interview. I go, well, I don't need a sport coat. I'm just like a researcher.
I'm a reporter.
He goes, no. You're in the studio. I said, what? Oh, so, and you know, at that point, it was like I'd never been on television except on TV with my dog in Philly.
Yeah,
great sports debate, and I had I had a wicked mullet. I mean,
it was a beauty.
Well, I was a beauty, yeah. So I remember, and you know, when you first do TV, I don't like people touching me, like, and they had this makeup person, and the woman, a really nice woman, she goes, we got to get your hair so it doesn't like flip up. And I said, I'll do it. She goes, you know how to do it? I said, yeah, give me a brush. So she gives me this round brush. Never seen anything like it in my life. Go in the men's room, put it in there, it won't come out.
It got stuck in your hair.
We're going in the air in like 10 minutes. And I got this brush hanging on my shoulder. It just won't come out. I just yanked it out, pulled all the hair out with it. And from then on, I said, here, you do the makeup and this. I can't deal with this anymore. And I went
Oh,
on
that's
TV. It was
great.
pretty cool. Barry Melrose, Steve Levy, John Saunders. We had a cab. Jim Schoenfeld I worked with, Neil Smith. I've worked with so many people. It's been a blast.
Yeah, that's great. There was a great crew up there that could
Oh,
launch that thing. It really
yeah.
was.
Barry was a blast. It was a ton of fun to work with. John Saunders was, he played hockey at Western Michigan. So
Yeah, he's a
John
good
was,
player.
he was a really good player, and Levy's a blast to work with all the time. And we always would have a saying, whatever we do when we go out, we don't want to be the news of the day. So,
Yeah.
so whatever happens, let's cool it so that we're not the news of the day. But we really had a good time. I think it was fun. It was a whole lot of fun working up there and working for the newspapers. I'm going in as a writer. Obviously, my value is I can string some words together on occasion. So that kind of.
Wow, that's great. Well, I'm going to put the picture up of you now. Let me just let's see if I can go like that. Oh, I got to take us out. Here you go. It cut it, but you can see the mullet there.
I got these. Remember the suspenders?
Oh, sure.
Suspenders and the white shirt and the it was it was a wild time. It was a you're covering the team with Tockett and Zezel and everybody. And Brian Engblom, who I worked with, Engie had the great hair going on. Of course, Barry was the best, which is why when I read that damn arena in Phoenix was the mullet arena, I'm thinking, oh my God.
Jeez, could you imagine?
It's the greatest thing. Oh yeah, that's a beauty.
There it is.
That's just the. Do you know whose gloves those are? Those are Billy Barber.
Is that right?
They are Billy Barber's gloves.
That's great. And you got the Sherwood 50, the PMPG 5030.
The old Sherwood, yeah, and had a CCM custom pattern made pro for a while. So Northland had I'm so old Northland. Sherbrooke, all that stuff going. Winwell pads, back in the day, man.
Yeah. But I remember the Northland helmet, the Stan Mikita helmet. It was the round, globe-looking thing.
And then the egg.
Denny Potvin wore one.
Yep, and then the Goring helmet was classic, and then everybody put the lids on and whatever. But it's been and of course in college we wore the whole shield, which I hated. I hate the shields, but I guess
so a cage. You're wearing a cage, right?
Yeah, I hate those. But that's what even in a men's league, I would wear that because playing with when I moved to Philly, there weren't that many guys playing, right? So you join a men's league, and it's not their fault. They grew up watching the Flyers, so basically they arrived in the rink with everything but their sticks on fire, ready
to drop them.
To kill you. But it's really good now. And one of the big highlights in my life is seeing guys like D'Angelo, Gaudreau, all the kids from here. There's so many players from around South Jersey, Philly. Mike Richter was one of the first when I was covering it with ESPN. He was at Wisconsin, and then of course the NHL, the Rangers. But to see how many kids now get a sniff of the NHL, but even more than that, I go to Penn State, wherever to play college hockey, and the women's involvement is remarkable.
Oh, it's insane. My son plays out of Iceland with the junior flyer program there and everything else. And the girls teams, I see them out there, like as I'm walking to our rink for practice, I see them out there working on the power play. And I'm like, geez, man, they run a good power play.
Yeah, they're easier to coach too. They tend to listen more. Coaching the game's a whole lot different, but I find that you cover, like I've covered sports 40 something years, and people say, what's the biggest story you've ever covered, the biggest event? Like I've covered Olympics, America's Cups, F1, this, that, the other thing. I've covered everything. So, and I'll say the biggest story in my lifetime is Title IX. Mm-hmm. No question. I have a daughter. I have friends and I said, what I watched that Title IX do to empower women and make them have friends, and when they went off to high school or college, they had a support system of teammates. I said, it is the most important sports story of my lifetime. It sounds silly, but it had more impact than any story I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think it helped grow the game because it presented an opportunity for girls growing up to know that they could be working towards, an education and financial aid as a result of it.
I wish there weren't so many women taking my job, but they look better than me, and And you know what? They work harder. So what are
Yeah.
you going to do? They work
Yeah.
harder and they're brilliant. So, good on you.
When's the last time you put skates on?
Probably I was in a men's league. I guess you call it a beer league. Um,
Never heard of it.
well, I'll tell you this hilarious story. So we're in this beer league. We're playing a 2 out of 3 playoff series. I got up at 3 a.m. to go to work. So it's not easy when your game's at 10 o'clock face off.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with one of my line mates was a guy named Dave. He was from Toronto and thought he was the greatest thing because he was Canadian. He would tell us can't let our jerseys touch the ground, the whole thing. So we play this 2 out of 3 series, but during the game we're getting the heck beat out of us. I mean, we're physically it's terrible. We're just getting killed. And he's on next to me on the bench. He goes, you may want, because the center was this big guy. He goes, you're going to have to play center. I can't anymore. I got hemorrhoids. I'm like, what? What are you telling me? How am I supposed to react to this on the bench? I just really wanted to get away from this big center. So,
it's big goon.
Yeah, we get hammered. We go into the next game. Before the game, he arrives with his shirt on a hanger and goes, boys, I have a really good job and a really good life. I don't need this anymore.
I'm done. Yeah.
And he's done. I got so banged up in that game that I just said, I can't do it anymore. I tore a quad, and it was like, all of a sudden I'm trying to push off and nothing's happening.
It's like get a blown tire.
I said, what's going on here? I said, you know what? 50-something years old here. I just don't. If the ponds would freeze, I would go out. Or as Kinderchuck lives around me, sometimes I'd see him go out on the pond or whatever. But
twirl around a little bit, stick handle, and have some fun.
Yeah, I could never really skate anyway. It's fun. But I do miss that. So that's I do see people in their 70s and 80s though out there skating, and more power to them. I don't have the legs.
Yeah, I wanted to make it to 50 because my hips are so gassed, and I made it to 50, and I played one game after I was 50, and I caught a shot right here on my mask, like right in the mouth area. And it wasn't that hard of a shot, but it caught me fucking square, concussion. I was in La La Land for 9 days. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done now.
Yeah, you're done, but you just move on to another, coach, or you can do all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm on the ice 2-3 days a week already because of coaching, so I'm not separated from it.
Yeah, it's a blast doing that. I wanted to one of my goals in life was that I had a professor when I was at Babson. I was basically flunking out of Babson, so I couldn't play because people will say they're getting Fs. I got Fs. I mean, I don't know what I was doing at that school. I'm not good at math. They'd give us these tests, and I just add the numbers up because I had no clue how to do anything else. So this guy, Jack Fowler, who ended up being the PR director for the NHL for a while, he got me into Boston University and hooked me up with the hockey program. And his goal in life was to be 70 years old and skate the canal in Ottawa. The canal. So I'm thinking when I turn 70, I want to put on skates and skate that canal for him. So that's my only bucket list, other than seeing fish at Red Rocks. That's my only bucket list item.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. That's a good one, to skate the canal. That's like a rite of passage in the Ottawa area as well. Let's talk about this team that you've seen so far this year. Torts, he was a guy that I was really for. My number one choice was Trotz for obvious reasons, but Torts has come in, and sometimes you think coaching doesn't matter, and in some ways it doesn't matter, but in the cerebral sense, the mental sense, I think it does, and that's I think what he's really tapping into right now.
Yeah, he was my number one choice, even though you've got the Trotz's obviously his pedigree or whatever, but I thought for this team, for this organization, for what they've been through, for this fan base, I was really hoping that he would be the guy because he puts everything out there, all his emotions and everything. And I think he's a lesson in. A lot of people say you can't coach effort, but you can coach effort. It's not easy. It's a big effort to coach effort, and I think that's what he is. And he's completely honest about where they are. I feel bad for him because whatever easiness there might have been, if there's anything for him easy. But the fact that all of a sudden Atkinson and Couturier are both not there, I thought really, no matter how high a hill he thought this was, it was even higher. And
Yeah.
I watched them early this year, and I give them full credit. They play really hard. They make mistakes. Like they played against St. Louis, and it was the biggest breather they've had, right? 5-1. But a lot of that was due to, I don't know how this happened, but the Blues were god awful on giveaways and everything. But the Flyers, their ability to work like that is what impressed me. To win some battles, they make some awful mistakes. They don't have the snipers that you need to kind of get away with things, so they have to play really hard. I'm worried, Jason, about how long you can do that. I think it shows up on back-to-back nights. I know old timers say it doesn't matter back-to-back. It does.
Yeah.
And I think it will show up there. But I think you saw the reverse against St. Louis, where that was a team on back-to-back, and the Flyers' work ethic outworked that other team. I'm just impressed with their effort level, and I still don't think Flyers fans at this early realize how good the goaltending has been.
Yeah.
I mean, there's these crazy stats. I'm not big on analytics, like goals saved above expected, or whatever that number is. Basically, it's a save and a beauty.
Yeah.
and that number is remarkable. And they're
Number
not
one in the league.
well, and they're not like great snares with the glove. They're in tight where you have to get across, or somebody's dragged a puck across the middle of the ice and gone the other way. And that's those saves that don't look like highlight films, but they are really, really difficult saves. That's what I've been most impressed with. Their goaltending has been outstanding. And I don't know. I mean, no matter how good you are, I don't know how that can maintain throughout. Maybe it can. I'm hoping that somehow they can maintain this, but it's a huge ask to have this many RPMs going on your engine every single night.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at. I mean, he's like a 950 save percentage right now. It's not sustainable. But you're right. Like his efficiency and movement, and the way he's got such efficiency, no wasted movements, and just so fluid. And he makes a lot of times those saves that you're talking about, Al, where the guy flinging all over the place. That's a self-inflicted wound for a goalie because he overplayed the prior situation. Like Fleury's one of those guys who took a lot of ice. Therefore, he had to travel further on plays, so he had to flail more. It looks more spectacular, but Hart's just so efficient in movement that a lot of times, a lot of shots hit him in the logo because he's in the right spot because he read the play right and he moved there improperly.
Right, and their defense is better in front of him, but I got to say it's not
perfect.
Not at all. I mean, D'Angelo's been a great find, but he's made some defensive errors. Ristolainen, Ristolainen has been a mess, and you have to live with it because of his contract and his physicality. And he'll come around because he's Tort's kind of a player, and I think he's coachable.
Shaw will get him, him in.
Shaw's going to have to. I think that's what they were upset with him going outside of the box, so to speak, to make
playing outside dots.
Yeah, and you can't do that with this team right now. You just can't. So I mean, I've been impressed with what I've seen so far. I like Cates a lot. I think Frost. I'm worried about him. I don't know if he's got the wheels to get to spots, and I think if he would watch Cates where his stick is all the time, because Frost's stick is always in the air.
Cates is always on the ice.
Right, it is. And Frost at practice, you can see when there's no opposition, so to speak, just running a drill with it. It's unbelievable.
Skills are sick.
There. It's right there. But I think he's wasted, and he doesn't have the wheels to waste that 1 second at times to play. But I mean, and I think Bellows was taking a flyer. I don't know that he's got the wheels either. See, I mean, it's an opportunity for these guys certainly. But I mean I think they were a wing and a prayer, and that would have been a big prayer answered. Frost was an absolute prayer answered if he worked out. And he could still. I mean, guys come along at different times, but I'm not sure about Bellows either if he can get there in time to do it. So
skating's an issue.
Yeah, and that is hard to improve. It can't. I'm not saying it can't be, but that's a real difficult thing as you get older to improve that. I've seen guys improve it.
Yeah, like Mark Stone was a guy who came in and was not a good skater, but turned into a really good winger.
Yeah. So you never know. But right now, I mean, it's just a it's just a lot of work. I mean, I used to call guys like that washing machines. They were doing a whole lot, but not moving a whole lot.
Yeah.
But you can't have too many. You can't have a laundromat. You're gonna have to get some skill. Maybe come from the defense. D'Angelo's provided more than I think anybody could have hoped for in terms of just keeping the puck in the zone, getting it there, moving it around. He's an exciting player to watch.
Emotional too, isn't he? Like,
oh yeah.
I said this on Flyers Daily, Al, or maybe it was the post-game show after the Blues game. He is a player that most recently, like I've watched Tony play, you know, when he played with the Rangers, obviously, and then last year in Carolina alongside Jacob Slavin most of the year. And he's a player I had a perception of, but now that I'm seeing him every day up close, he's a lot different than I thought he was. I had a perception of him that was a little bit off. I mean, defends really well with a stick. You know, there's positional things, and he's always going to be more offensive and not a great, you know, gap defender and along the walls. But I feel like I misunderstood his game more than anybody that's come here in a long time.
Yeah, you probably misunderstood it like a lot of people because you were thinking about the team before Carolina. I think he learned a lot playing there. That's a good system to play in.
Under Rod.
Carolina is a very good system to play in. Now, Carolina's problem is their strength. They play in the same thing all the time. Their pace, how they play, what they do. In the regular season, that's fine. In the playoffs, when you're playing in a series, you have to change some things because the other team sees you so often. Yeah. And I don't see that Carolina can ever change anything, it's really good, but there's no change up. So I think when they get in the series, sometimes it works to their disadvantage that they're so mechanized.
Predictability?
Yeah, but it's very good. Most nights it's going to win you a game.
Yeah, but you're right. When you get into the playoffs, every inch of the ice then gets coached. It's different.
And you're reacting to what you saw the last game. 4, 5 games, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. You're reacting, so you do get some tells at that point. And I don't know that they ever change it up because God bless them. They got them a long way. Well, get the goaltending, maybe get them over the hump.
Well, that's like Tampa to me too, Al, because they had to learn that lesson too. They used to like to play a very plodding game, Tampa, and they give up a lot of chances, and they have a great goalie that can bail them out in Vasi. And that's what Torts did. He forced them to play at a higher pace, and it really fucked with them, especially in the neutral zone. But once Tampa realized we got to be able to play different styles of game, then they won the 2 cups and went to another.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. The Flyers, I don't think they're there yet, but we'll see what happens when some of these kids come up. And I like the kid. I've watched some Boston College. I like that Cutter Gauthier. Is that it? Cutter. I love his first name. He's been terrific up at Boston College. I wish they would play him at center a little bit more, but I love him as a draft pick.
Yeah. I just lost my signal for a second there, but I'm back. Al, let me ask you about, we'll wrap up on this because you've covered so much hockey from BU to the Miracle on Ice and all that great stuff. But I guess it was 37 years ago tonight was the day that Pelle Lindbergh had the accident. And I remember, I still have newspaper clippings in this house that I live in right now somewhere of your stories when that whole thing went down and how close you were with his wife. What do you remember about that time?
It was horrible. It was like,
I still feel like it's horrible in my mind's eye.
It was, people tell you you're not supposed to get that close to players when you cover them. I did. I thought I could be objective, but if I like somebody, I like somebody. They're nice people. Pelle and I are very, very close, very good friends with his fiance at the time. And he was supposed to be at my wedding. Ironically, he couldn't go because the day that car was arriving in Baltimore, being shipped. That's how much of that car. I stopped driving with him because I just couldn't. It was fast for me. And and I know it's the drinking, and it was disgraceful. I mean, especially in Sweden, that had any alcohol at all. But we warned him time and again, like, Kelly, you just can't drive fast. You just can't. And he just loved it. When that happened, I was, I think, the third person at the hospital over in Jersey. I first went to Cooper, and there were other people there, and they sent me to, I think it was Kennedy. And because I was so tight with he and, his fiance, I was one of the few people in the room. They wheeled him past, and I remember the doctor telling his fiance, like, he's got this injury, that injury, shoulder, arm, and this was the bone surgeon. And she's looking at me, and like, there's kind of a translation thing. And she goes, well, can he get over these things to play hockey again? And he looked at me and goes, she doesn't know. Because the brain dead situation.
Yeah.
And like, no. So we then, Davey Poulin was there, and we everything was explained, and it was the most horrifying. When you're in your 20s, it's probably the first time most of us deal with somebody who dies. And when you're with a team, it was like, is this real? Is this honestly going to happen? And then it was the first time that many of us in our 20s with that whole team realized that it's going to sound stupid, but when you die, you stay dead.
Yeah, because you're not coming back.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, well, you're athletes, and like, is this a dream, basically? Like, the reality doesn't hit you at first, because it's like all the stuff that goes on, like funerals. We're going to go to Sweden and do this and do that. It's like, oh my God, I've never gotten over it. And to this day, I mean, like, I'm going to go into Hall of Fame, and I'm going to mention the fact that the Sedin twins are there and Alfredsson's there, I feel is fitting, and Borja Salming's going to be there dealing with ALS now, because it was such an impactful moment in my life to have that happen. And it also made me cover teams as people. I don't like when players are covered as statistics or as cartoons. I think they should be covered as people. And I'm not saying to be soft on a player, but I think the better stories are what makes somebody tick, how you got here, maybe why you screwed up, but the people. Like, I find the power of the sport is the people in the sport. So that was a big part of it, because when you know somebody that well, and that happens, and you see what happens to the team, and you see the relationships that teammates have in that situation, and none of us have gotten over it. And it was at once the most horrifying, but also the most binding moment I think I've ever experienced in sports.
Yeah, and to this day, with a lot of those guys, for you, how difficult, Al, was it to serve the dual purpose, or really multiple purpose, of being there for his fiance, losing your friend, and also covering it?
I told him, I said, when I'm here, I'm a friend. When I go to write a story, I'll write the story, but nothing that's said here or whatever will I use.
Violate.
And I guess you could say that's not professional, but you're human first. You're human first. And I thought I did a fair. I mean, how can you're covering an athlete who died? I mean, there's nothing. There's no scoop. There's no ridiculous, journalism thing there. It's a human story on what's gone on. And the hard part for me was just writing it, just seeing it happen, just
seeing the words that you're writing,
seeing the words, and and going over to Sweden and having the funeral and all of that stuff, and the people over there, what he meant to them. It really made you grow up really fast. And I think for all of us, it was like, well, you're drinking, driving, speed, all just you're not guaranteed anything. It was like I still think of him a lot. I mean, it's the only jersey I have. The one he gave me. It's the only jersey that I have is that jersey, and it's the only memorabilia really that I have from the Flyers is the tickets from the next game when he was on the ticket.
Darren Jensen played that game, if I recall.
Yeah, somebody got, I think Froze got hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was against Edmonton.
It was against Edmonton. It's like how do you recover from anything like that? But guys recovered, and it became part of the lore of the team. And I guess you can say he'll never die, so to speak. But no, it was a tragedy of a guy who I thought was just going to be a great goaltender, but better for me, just a really cool person to just talk to.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it must have been like to cover for you. I mean, I was 13 at the time, and it's my first foray into loss in life.
Yeah.
I remember crying like a baby. My mom, I was just, because I was infatuated with the goal. Like Bernie was a little bit before me, a little bit.
Yeah.
But Pelly, he was small, but so lightning quick. And the tribute to Bernie with the mask, and the way he attacked the position, and I still remember the knee roll Coopers.
He was a special one. I mean, I've seen all kinds of goalies. He was a special one. People always ask me I don't like goaltenders are separate. Even Tortorella will tell you. I don't answer goaltender quite. Stop the puck. But I mean, for most people, when you get old enough, people ask you who's the best you've ever seen. And the best I've ever seen was Dominic Hasek, and then Patrick Waugh was terrific, and I mean they're all great. But for that period of time, it was just stupid to see. I don't even know what style it was. All I knew was he looked like a golden retriever on the ice, and he's saving pucks with his tail. It was just nuts.
He was a guy that goalies could never identify with because he didn't make sense. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just whatever he had to do to make the save.
No, When I remember when they lost that Stanley Cup, I was with ESPN, and the goal shouldn't have counted. And but Brett Hull's goal, and I was given the assignment of the loser locker room. So I'm supposed to go in the loser locker room, and Hasek's at the door going, "Nobody's coming in this locker room. This game's not over. That goal doesn't count."
Yeah, he wasn't wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, and we'd watch him and go, "Why decide to barrel roll there?" But it worked. You're like, "Shit, I would have never thought of that."
No, and it's like it's why he's also why this sport is so difficult to cover, and why I don't believe in a lot of the numbers, because goaltenders just change everything. On that team, look at it. I mean, was the coach that good? Was the general manager really that good? Was Michael Pekka that good a defensive? How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
You just trot Hasek out there, chalk out 39, you're good.
Yeah, really. How do you know? I mean, is this really a Selke Trophy winner? I mean, there's all these saves he's making. Is his GM? He could plug anybody in there. It was just absolutely crazy watching that.
Yeah, no, you're right. That Pelly stuff is fantastic. It still hits me in the belly to this day. Oh man, we miss him. Al, you're going in come Monday. Enjoy the moment, man. You've earned it. I know that you joke around about did they get the wrong guy and the whole thing, but man, your dedication to the game, bringing it to people, and in a very cool conversational way for many years on the radio and TV and everything. Congrats to going in, man. You really deserve it. I'm happy as I've worked with a lot of people in radio, and of varying likeness, but you're one of the guys that I always got along with really well and identified with, and the work that you've done in this city for the game. And I'm really happy that you're going in on Monday. Enjoy that moment with your family, and you deserve to be there.
All right. Thanks a lot, and keep it up there. Keep spreading the word about hockey. It's the number one game.
Right. And when your radio career is over, we'll get you on doing a weekly podcast.
Worries. That's coming up. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Al.
See ya.
There he is, Al Morganti. Fantastic stuff. I'm so happy that he's going into the Hall of Fame. He's so deserving. Let me tell you about Bet Parks. Great casino sportsbook app. Time to get on it. Bet on hockey action. Bet on all the different sports, college and pro hoops, college and pro football, you name it. It's all there for you right in front of you. And take it from me. It's everything you want in a mobile casino and sports book, and it's right in the palm of your hand. So download the BetParks app today. You need to be over 21 and present in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm starting to run out of gas with my voice here. The cold is going away, but it's not fully away yet. Also, visit Conquerville Subaru on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Fantastic dealership, great people, great work in the community, whether it's Nemours Children's Hospital, La Humanidad España, Marcus Hook Elementary School. I mean, the stuff that they have done and continue to do is awesome. So you can check out the beautiful showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. Check out a list of incoming Subaru vehicles, certified pre-owned inventory. It's all there for you. Great service department where you get a free car wash with every visit. Visit ConquervilleSubaru.com and check out everything they have to offer. And, of course, check out the beautiful showroom on Route 202 in Glen Mills. And remember, Concordville cares. All right, Friday, we're back with another brand new episode. We'll recap Flyers Blue Jackets. Thanks to Al Morganti, the pending Hockey Hall of Famer, for joining us on this episode. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. That'll help other hockey fans and Flyers fans find this podcast as well. So, everybody, have a great Wednesday. We'll talk to you Friday on episode 16 of BetParks Presents Stick to Hockey Live. Have a great day, everybody.